again, John Hampshire from JH Coaching here, and today I'm going to talk about training diaries. So this is how we used to do it when I used to run quite a lot and record everything in diaries, and nowadays we've got things to do it for us. So we go running or cycling with our fancy watches and cycle trainers, and they record the data automatically, and then they can synchronize to other applications. I'm quite interested to find out what the best training diary planning and analysis application is, and there are loads of them. I've found 38 different applications, and I've written a blog on our website endurancebikerun.com that you can check out, and it goes into some detail, and they can download the spreadsheet that I used from that. So what I did is I looked at these applications and checked them against various minimum requirements. So the minimum requirements I used were whether you can automatically synchronize from multiple devices, a good training diary application so you could see what you've been up to and analyze that, something that works for both cycling and running, because even if you normally do one, if you prioritize one of the sports, then many people like to do both. A lot of runners, if they get injured, like to do some cycling, and a lot of cyclists do a bit of running in the winter. And then also a minimum allowance to set heart rate specific training zones, or have different intensities to work with according to heart rate, and an ability to analyse those. Obviously it was a bonus if you can get power training zones and power as well, but most of the applications I've looked at and prioritised I've got those. So here you can see the spreadsheet, and you can see that out of the 38 I've narrowed it down to 6: Strava, Training Peaks, Final Surge, Today's Plan, Endomondo and Exert. And I've also going to mention these two, WKO5 and Golden Cheetah, which are more analysis tools than training diary applications. But I quite like the idea of working with more than one application. And my top three were Strava, Training Peaks and Final Surge. Although I'm quite interested in Exert, which is an adaptive tool that takes account of your training as you do it, and it'll also do some smart things when you're actually training with they've got an application, a smartphone application, or it'll link to a Garmin application to do smart training sessions, whereby they can change the duration of the effort that you're performing according to how hard it is, which is pretty good if you're on mixed terrain. So Strava I think is the best all-round application. So if you're gonna, you have to pay for it to get the more detailed analytical tools, but if you're prepared to do that, then it's pretty good, and it's not as expensive as things like Training Peaks or Today's Plan or Exert. And it also has the added bonus of the social network associated with it, segments, and it'll track, if you do the same route regularly, it'll track that. But the great thing about Strava is that there's both social and competitive elements, and they've been shown to be quite motivational, and the most effective motivational tool is to combine those two. It's got a calendar, which is quite nice. You can get all the details here, and it presents it in different ways. Giving you a visual representation of what you've been up to. You can filter it according to your type of activity. I've not been doing any running, so it won't show any running. And then it has more specific details. You can look at the what's known as the power curve. So it has this power duration curve. So if you're training with power, then you can analyse that information, and it'll make an estimate of your threshold power. Or you can look at your what's known as fitness and freshness, and that can talk briefly about that in other videos, and there's quite a lot on the internet about it. So it gives you this fitness and freshness graph, which is quite common now in a lot of analytical tools. It works reasonably well. Gives you an idea of your level of fatigue according to the training that you've done, how fit you are according to the training that you've done, and the form is a balance between the two. And one of my last videos was a discussion of how these are pretty good indicators, but they're certainly not perfect, so they have to be taken with a pinch of salt. The added things that aren't really associated with this review are that Strava has some nice planning tools, so if you plan, you can plan your routes, and here's a few that I've done. Next we've got Training Peaks. That was my second peak. So this is the calendar view for Training Peaks, and you can look at workouts that you've done. So that was this interval session that I did yesterday, and it'll analyse the data. If you've created it with what's known as the workout builder, then it'll plot your performance against the targets, which you can see I was well under the targets, but that was for a reason. You can show heart rate, cadence, power, speed, analyse things to your heart's content. Unfortunately, the free version doesn't really have anywhere near as much data analysis as the paid version, and as you can see, it's it's not the cheapest of tools to use. Although if you buy an annual subscription, $120 a year, it's significantly cheaper than the $20 a year, $20 a month that you would have to pay if you paid monthly. And you compare that to Strava. Strava's only $8 a month. And then the next application I wanted to talk about, I'm not going to have time to talk about them all in this, but I'm going to do some more in-depth reviews. So please subscribe, and if you click the bell, then you'll get to know when I do the in-depth reviews of the various tools. I've been spending quite a bit of time with Exert, and I'm looking to review that in a bit more detail and how it works. The help desk for Exert is really good, and I've been talking to Scott on the help desk via email, and he's been really helpful in explaining all the background of what's going on and how to use it and get the best out of it. So Final Surge, you'll notice, is free. It's not free to coaches, but it's free to athletes. So that's a great application, and we'll have a quick look at that. So this is the calendar in Final Surge. It's got a beta release version, which is actually a little bit nicer. And here you can see the different workouts. So if we looked at the same workout that we looked at in Training Peaks, and then so you can click on the analysis of it, and you can see it's a really nice, clean, analytical tool. It shows you your time in your different training zones here, heart rate zones, power zones, cadence and analysis of the cadence, and then various other metrics, average metrics, and then it's all nicely tabulated here as well. As a planning application, it's a bit of a fiddle to add a workout using the workout builder in Final Surge, but it's not really too bad. So if you want to add a workout here, you then go into the workout, and then you can use this workout builder, and you can do that to speed, power or heart rate. Training Peaks does have a slight advantage in that you can use perceived exertion to create your workout, which is quite useful if you're not working with a heart rate monitor or a power meter, and if you're going to be training off-road, then speed isn't much use, and on a bike speed's not much use either. So that's quite nice. So you just type in the details here. So you might want to do 10 minutes warm up, you might want to do that in your heart rate zone too, and you might not be worried about cadence, and then you might want to do 2 efforts of maybe 3 efforts of 8 minutes with 2 minutes recovery. That's a fairly standard session that's becoming quite popular due to Stephen Seiler's work. And then it's created this nice graph at the bottom of the page to show you what's going on. You can save that, and we've now got that workout in the planner. So you can see that Final Surge is quite a nice tool for planning. And then back to the spreadsheet. So I looked at today's plan. Today's plan I didn't like as much. I don't think the diary's as nice and appealing, but it has all the analysis tools that you might want. And but it is pretty expensive. If you look here at the chart, today's plan is a minimum of $100 a year, and there's no free version. And it's really a good idea to work with a free version of a given tools, because you can then you've got a continuous data store. So irrespective of which application you choose, I think it's a good idea to subscribe to the free version of Training Peaks and Strava and perhaps Final Surge, and you can then get your data into other applications if you want to. So because you can export your data from Training Peaks a year at a time, so you can get so that's quite quick to create a database that other programs can read. Strava synchronizes with most things, so definitely be using Strava. Then you've got your data forever, because even if you don't want to pay for it, you can keep the free version and you don't get rid of your data. I also looked at Endomondo, which is quite a nice friendly tool, and it's quite a lot cheaper than the other tools. It's best for running rather than cycling, and if you look at the social aspects of it, it is quite running based. Even if you put cycling in as one of the preferences, it seems to pick up running events as well. So but it's nice. It's got a training planning tool within it, and using information that you put in. Today's plan also has a training planning application, and I think that's what it's marketed as one of its strengths. You can change the plan whenever you want, and it's based on your inputs, and it'll track how well you're performing. So I created this plan to see what it did, and it's put in various sessions. It starts with building up your tempo and mixes things up a bit, and then sweet spot, some race simulation, which I guess would be at threshold, and nice gradual build up. It looks really good. So if you and you get a week's trial, so you can check it out and see what you think of it, build a plan. So the final application is the Exert, which also has a free version. So Exert, you can it's got the adaptive planning tool, so each day you might do a particular workout. So this is the calendar view, and so yesterday I did a certain workout, and it takes account of all these things and then updates your plan according to the goals that you set within it. So if you look at it all works with this fitness page, and it's power based, so if you don't use power, it's not really much use to you. And it's also road based, so if you want to use it for off-road training, like a mountain bike marathon or mountain bike sportifs or whatever, you need to sort of trick it into using. I want to do mountain bike marathons, so I've set my goal to be a century rider, which is of the options that seem to be the best. And you can get advice that, as I said, Scott has really been really helpful in explaining things to me, and then it gives you advice on what session to do, and it'll pick a session for you. So if I set it thinks I should do active recovery for 45 minutes today, which is probably quite reasonable because I'm feeling quite tired. But if you don't want to do active recovery, you can pick from these sessions that it likes, or any number of other sessions, or create your own. What I've been doing is just doing my own training and seeing what the adaptive planner suggests. They've got Exert has a month's free trial, so that's worth trying. So if you're not sure of what you want to do, then I would just download them all, synchronize them to Strava or Garmin, Polar, or whatever device you use, your Sunto. Most of them will synchronize in some way or another. If you've got a lot of data in one of the tools like Garmin, for instance, I think they'll synchronize maybe a month of history. But if you want more, then you can use a tool called Tapiric.com, I think it is. Just search it on the internet. I'll put a link below, and that'll synchronize. It's free to use for a one-off manual synchronization, and then you can get all your data in one place and have a look at it and see whether you like the analysis tools. If you want to do more analysis, then there's tools called WKO5, which is paid for, and as you can see, $170 plus tax. So if you're in Europe, it comes out at about 170 euros, probably, something like that. I'm not quite sure exactly. And the nice thing about that is that it synchronizes with Training Peaks quite smoothly, and it's easy to get data in. If you're quite happy with going through a fairly steep learning curve, or you know a lot about physiology, and you're happy with computer analysis tools that are not quite as slick in synchronization, and you're prepared to spend a bit of fiddling about, then Golden Cheetah is a free tool, and it is quite easy to get your data in, and I've been using that and I'm starting to like it more and more, and it'll do everything that WKO5 will do, and perhaps more. It's just you get more control with Golden Cheetah. Well, no, maybe not. You get control in a different way, and but the science is more transparent within Golden Cheetah, whereas WKO5 has a few inbuilt algorithms that aren't public knowledge. So that's it. That's a review. I'm going to do some more detailed reviews of the various applications over the coming few days, maybe the next couple of weeks, and I'll also try using the tools over a bit more of a long-term trial. So if that's useful to you, then subscribe and click the bell, and then you'll know when I've done various things. So in conclusion, I think if you are if you don't mind spending money, and basically if you're a cyclist and you spend several £1,000s on a bike and you're using a power meter that also costs hundreds to thousands of pounds, then why would you not be wanting to invest in your training? Then I think Training Peaks Premium, Strava, free version of Strava, because you get the database but also you get the segments and information, and you can track your performance that way, which is really nice, and combine that with WKO5 if you want more data analysis, because they all synchronize together really nicely. To get the same performance and not spend any money, then Final Surge, Strava free version again, and Golden Cheetah are a really nice combination, and if you want to dig into the details, that's a great way to do it without spending any money, and they synchronize fairly nicely. It's not difficult. I've been using those three over the last week or so, and I've not found it a hassle at all. The best premium planning tool, Today's Plan, perhaps, I'm not quite sure. Exert's pretty good. I think the good thing about Today's Plan is that it is more of a planning tool, so you create a plan over several weeks or months to aim at a particular goal, whereas Exert will produce you an adaptive plan that is really reflects what you're doing. Its recommendations are reflecting of what you've done, rather than on what you. If you say you wanted to plan a rest week, it's difficult to do that in Exert without fiddling it a little bit. And best budget all-rounder, I've put Endomondo on here, but I would say it's probably worth spending a little bit more and going for Strava premium version, having reflected and used the two a bit more. If you're a runner, then Endomondo's great. If you're a cyclist, it's not so good, and if you want to step up to running with power, then one of the slightly more premium tools is worth the money. So, hope you found this useful. Subscribe if you liked it, and tell me what I could do better if I can, and anything else you're interested in, please let me know. Okay, bye.